Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Bennett Tyler with Aberdeen Group, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the final installment in our three-part webinar series, Inefficiency Kills Growth, How Leading Companies Manage Growth and Maintain Momentum. The webinar today is hosted by Aberdeen Group and sponsored by Sage. In part one of this series, we discussed some of the challenges that business face while growing. In part two, we went over some of the strategies that organizations are using to address these challenges. We'll be starting today with a brief recap, but you can check out the on-demand recordings by clicking the P1 and P2 thumbnails at the bottom of your screen. Today, we'll be diving into recommendations from selecting an ERP to maintaining a plan for continuous improvement. Our presenters today are Nick Castellina, VP and Research Group Director of the Business Planning and Execution Practice here at the Aberdeen Group. And also joining us today is Matt Groom, Segment Product Marketing Manager at Sage. If you'd like to read their full bios, you can use the drop-down arrows below their photos on the right side of your screen. I encourage you all to submit your questions throughout the webinar using the Q&A field at the top left of your screen. We will facilitate a Q&A at the end of the presentation and try to address as many of your questions as possible. Also on the left side of your screen, you will see our resource section. There you'll find today's presentation deck, as well as the slides from part 1 and 2, and some additional reading from the Aberdeen Group on today's topic. It is now my pleasure to turn the webinar over to Nick Castellina.
Thanks, Bennett, and thank you everybody for joining this third session here today. I hope you found the last two sessions valuable, and if you weren't able to attend the last two as well, they are available, but I think I will do a quick little recap to start off this presentation that will hopefully bring you up to speed and put you in the right place to understand some of the recommendations I'm giving later in this presentation. So before we start, why don't we just kind of set the stage and talk about the key findings and the things you're going to hear about. We're going to start with a brief recap of the last few sessions and talk about the challenges that growing organizations are facing today. What we find is that rising costs and disorganization hold many businesses back from achieving their full potential. So growth is both a gift and a curse. It brings a lot of inefficiency that really holds organizations back from really encouraging further growth and doing the right things that are going to help them succeed as a business. They're exposed to more organizations, more regulations, more locations, more new products, more competition, a lot of different things that makes it very difficult to continue to operate as they have in the past to continue to be successful. So then we're going to talk very briefly about what leaders look to do and how they standardize and accelerate their processes. They provide visibility and they enhance agility. So these are really the key strategies that they put into place in direct competition to their growth challenges. These are the types of things that are many times aided with technology, but are also many different types of organizational capabilities that organizations can look to in order to ensure that they're keeping costs in check, they're making timely decisions, and they're pleasing customers effectively. So one way they're doing this is to modernize business systems, and these systems provide opportunity for organizations when it comes to standardization, better access to data, better capabilities when it comes to managing customers, better decision making. This all really comes from a business solution, whether it's ERP or a business management or an accounting solution, that helps to organize the business and give more information when decision makers need that information to make decisions. Then we're going to talk about, well, these are the things that you need in a business solution. Well, how do you go about actually getting this solution and getting it up and running? We're going to talk about how top performers select their ERP, and they do so based really on not cost, but also the ease of use and functionality. Then we're going to talk about how to actually implement an ERP solution when it comes to starting with a project plan, incorporating feedback on an ongoing basis throughout the project, and standardizing training to make sure that your employees are actually getting full value out of the solution that you're implementing within your organization. And then we're going to touch at the end of this session around how flexible business systems provide tangible improvements across performance metrics and make it much easier for organizations to continue to handle growth on an ongoing basis. So looking for business solutions that are easily tailored to reflect business change are absolutely essential in growing organizations, because you never know where your organization is going to go as it continues to succeed. So you need to be able to support all sorts of new changes to the business and really treat your business management solution vendor as a business partner that's working with you to grow as an organization. So this is why you should listen to me today. Again, I just wanted to touch briefly on why you should believe me and talk about how the data that you've seen here was put together and why it should matter to you. So if you're unfamiliar with Aberdeen, we're a marketing services firm that provides content based on really survey data that addresses the business needs of the end user today across a variety of topics, both from a industry standpoint, functional standpoint, and from a technology standpoint. So we've got all sorts of different groups really dedicated to individual topics within Aberdeen. I run our business planning and execution research practice, as we mentioned, which covers kind of the organization-wide technologies that organizations use to operate from end to end. So within those surveys, we have what we call our PACE methodology and our BestinClass Framework. PACE stands for Pressures, Actions, Capabilities, and Enablers, which means we walk every single survey taker through a series of questions related to this methodology. So P for Pressures stands for the key challenges that an organization is facing in any given topic. When it comes to growth, it's a lack of data, a lack of ability to react quickly, a loss of standards, inability to service customers effectively. Typically, we ask this question where the survey taker gets a series of between 8 and 10 options, and they're allowed to select their top 2. Then we have the A for Actions, which is the key strategies that an organization is putting into place in the face of these pressures. Similar type of question, we ask things like, improving collaboration, improving visibility into data, standardizing processes across the enterprise, this type of stuff. Then we have the C for Capabilities, which are the core competencies that an organization is putting into place in the face of these pressures and to support their strategies. So these are things that can be process management, knowledge management, performance management, or organizational. A lot of times these are ultimately the features and functions of their software. They're asked often if they plan to implement something, if they have no plans to implement something, and if they've got something implemented. It can be things like ability to do demand planning. And then lastly, the E for Enablers, which is the technology that an organization has put into place. Things like ERP, accounting systems, business management solutions, the types of things that organizations like Sage are providing to their customers. So similar type of question, we ask what you've implemented so far, what you plan to implement, and what you have no plans to implement. Then quickly we have what we call our BestinClass Framework, which is where we take every single survey taker and we rate them on a series of key performance metrics related to the topic. Things like complete and on-time delivery of products, inventory accuracy, change in profit margins over the past 2 years. And based on their answers to these questions, we give them a score. And based on that score, we place them into 3 classes. The top 20% being the best in class, the middle 50% being the industry average, and the bottom 30% being the laggards. What we're then able to do is marry the framework and the methodology together to provide a step-by-step guide on what organizations should be doing in order to become more effective. So really, you're going to see a lot of data throughout the rest of this presentation, a lot of numbers. Don't worry about the numbers. Worry about what the story is behind those numbers. So if you see a bar that represents the best in class as being taller than the bar that represents the all others, which is the industry average and the laggards combined, that's telling you that this is a contributing factor to why these organizations are best in class and should be maybe something that you're thinking about doing. So with that said, let's just recap for a few slides and then jump into the new content. I just wanted to set the table and talk about the challenges that hinder growth today within organizations. So as you grow, as you know, you're exposed to more locations, more customers, more competitors, new business processes, really a lot of different things that your business has to deal with that makes it increasingly difficult to continue to operate that you have in the past. So your costs are constrained, you're having trouble working with reaching the levels of demand that are susceptible to. You have more competitors that are driving costs down on products. You really have to go to new processes, or just there's an infinite number of challenges that come with growth. This slide here shows the challenges that hinder growth within the survey, and they're things like unpredictable demand, lack of resources, increased competition, increased amounts of data that should really be a gift to you, but it's become very difficult for smaller organizations or growing organizations to consume that data effectively and convert it to decision making. So top performers actually look to ways in which to challenge all these challenges through their strategies and the capabilities that they have. So before we can go forward and talk about what you should be doing to combat these challenges, here's really how we define the best in class so you can determine where you fall on the maturity scale. We rated survey takers on their complete and on-time delivery of products, so making sure that they're getting things to their customers when those customers are asking for them at an effective price. Also improvements in productivity and profitability over the past 2 years. So if you're getting more productive and you're getting more profitable, what's it taking to get you there? And that's what we're going to talk about the rest of today. So in relation to the challenges that we talked about earlier, here are the strategies of the best in class and what they're doing to directly combat the challenges related to growth. By far, the number one strategy, and again, remember they're allowed to select their top 2 out of a list of between 8 and 10, is to streamline and accelerate processes to improve efficiency and productivity. So to get better at doing what you do, utilizing technology to ensure that you can make decisions quickly, you can perform processes efficiently and with the resources that you have to really make sure that you're continuing to maintain best practices across the organization. As an organization grows, it's very easy to lose sight of the processes which are the foundation of your business's success, and make sure that they're continued to really be enforced when you've got all these new people, all these new locations, whatever it may be. Top performers are utilizing the technology that they have to kind of bring in the reins. You see that the best in class have modernized technology infrastructure and applications. They're looking to new business solutions to make sure that they have all the functionality they need to run their business and all the data they need to run their business. They're providing visibility. They're optimizing the supply chain. They're improving interoperability and collaboration both internally and externally. These are the things that you should be thinking about doing as an organization to ensure that you're directly combating the challenges directly related to growth. And then what should you be looking for in your business solutions to ensure that you're really providing your employees with a platform they need to perform effectively and to continue to grow as an organization. So we've got 3 slides here right now to just look at the type of capabilities that best-in-class organizations have in comparison to all others. Right here, you see a series of capabilities that are related to improving the execution of really processes across the organization. You see that 93% of the best in class have standardized processes across the organization in comparison to 62% of all others. Again, this is talking about providing those best practices to ensure that you're going to be as effective as possible when you're carrying out your day-to-day. You see that they also have industry-specific best practices contained within their software and that they're utilizing those best practices. The software vendors, such as Sage, are putting together different functionality within their solutions that support the processes that you need to become effective as a business. So we recommend at Aberdeen the less customization you do, the better. You want to rely on the best practices that are provided by your software vendor because they've built those based on their communications with industry peers and their customers that are utilizing their solutions effectively. So that's a great way to ensure that you're running your business on best practices. And then you have a series of other capabilities here on this slide that really talk to the way to get the most value out of your ongoing operations when it comes to really providing greater efficiency and more effectiveness in your processes when it's talking about scheduling maintenance, providing, combining warehouse orders, scheduling your workforce, improving financial operations, improving compliance. These are the types of things that you can rely on your business solution to improve your business execution. Also important is that visibility and collaboration when it comes to growing your business. Providing key business leaders with the information they need to make decisions is absolutely essential. You see a lot of capabilities here related to both visibility and collaboration. So providing real-time visibility into status of all processes and data, automating notifications for decision makers so that they can act immediately, and traceability for certain types of organizations is extremely important when it comes to being able to do things like manage recalls or provide real full insight into what materials you're using, where they came from, and where they went. Also important when it comes to a growing business is collaboration. Collaboration with your employees across the organization, connecting your sales staff with your supply chain, for example, so that they can demand plan effectively. But also working with customers, your suppliers, even regulatory bodies, having full access to the information that your organization needs to manage those communications is only going to allow you to be much more effective. And then lastly, before we talk about how to actually go ahead and do all this, I think it's important as a growing organization to understand the need for emerging technology. As I mentioned earlier, the software vendors are continuing to build more and more innovative solutions that provide access to things like mobile ERP, CRM, business analytics, even social business capabilities. These are the types of things that are really going to help you to springboard to be a competitive organization in the new business environment. So now that you're up to speed, we've got just a few slides to really talk about how you can go about and actually achieve all of this. So what we've got here is the cost of doing nothing. So when it comes to growing your organization, you are, of course, very much hindered by cost constraints. Oftentimes, this really makes a lot of organizations to make damaging decisions. One of the biggest mistakes that organizations make is sitting on an ERP or business management decision, and oftentimes that happens strictly because of costs. But what they don't talk about really is the cost of doing nothing, and I think that's the biggest loss. What we've got here is comparing organizations that are on the latest release of their ERP or business management solution to those that made no decision. So when I talk about no decision, either they don't have an ERP solution or a business management solution, or they have an outdated one and are working on some sort of legacy system. And that's the quickest way to hold your business back and hinder your business. What we found is that those that are up to date with their software see better performance across a variety of metrics. Things like complete and on-time delivery of products, internal schedule compliance, inventory accuracy. All of these metrics are really contributing factors to the overall success of the business. And if you're sitting on that decision, you're not able to take advantage of these improvements, and that's really going to hold you back. So you've decided that you actually are going to do something, which is what obviously I'm recommending here. So what is it you're going to do? Well, first you're going to start with selecting your ERP. What we've got here is a series of ERP selection criteria ranked among a list of, I think you see probably there's 15 here. The list was probably 25, and survey takers were asked to select their top 4. And really, this is how organizations today are selecting ERP. What are they prioritizing? Number 1 and number 2, of course, are ease of use and functionality. So you need to make sure that the solution that you're implementing within your organization actually supports your goals and supports your needs and really is designed to support the processes that you're using to run your business from end to end. And then, of course, you need to make sure that that functionality is actually usable. Ease of use is going to ensure that your employees are actually getting true value out of the investment you're making in your business management and ERP solution. You see that costs are a factor, of course, but they are not as highly prioritized as what the solution can actually do for your business. Because as I mentioned, that cost of doing nothing, it is significant, and it is something that can hold you back. Other things to look at are, tailoring functionality without programming, so having a solution that's easily scalable and moldable. Looking for having one single solution that can support your business from end to end. These are the types of things that you should prioritize when you're looking for an ERP solution. So for the next 4 slides, we're going to talk about how to go about and actually implement a solution. So the ERP implementation process can seem daunting. You hear horror stories of organizations that take a long time to get everything done and incur significant costs. Oftentimes those are for larger organizations and more complex organizations. But there, even the larger organizations, if they stay to the right type of ERP project plan, they can get these things implemented as effectively as possible and get to that value much more quickly. So really it starts with establishing the groundwork for your plan. You see a comparison of BestinClass when it comes to all others across a lot of things they're doing throughout their ERP implementation processes. So it starts by, really figuring out what your business processes are and standardizing them and aligning them with the ERP implementation. So really going in and creating that structure for how your business is going to operate. That's a key challenge for a growing organization where a lot of that stuff starts to get lost in the shuffle. This is the opportunity to kind of bring back in the reins and make sure that your employees are going to be doing the right things at the right times. There's also the need to really get your data in check. Even if you're running your business on spreadsheets or manually, there's a lot of information that you're going to need to carry over to your ERP or business management solution. And there may be other business solutions that you already have implemented within your organization that really need to be integrated effectively. So top performers are more likely to have the ability to classify and meta tag their data, as well as seeing where the gaps are between ERP functionality and other internal technologies to make sure that they're really creating a technology environment that supports the business from end to end. Then really, as with any project, it comes to centralizing a project plan for the implementation process and sticking to that plan. One of the biggest challenges is managing scope creep and managing changes to the project. Having a defined project plan and a centralized map is going to make it much easier for you to assess on an ongoing basis and try to hit your goals. Then we have things that the BestinClass are doing to manage the process on an ongoing basis. It starts with figuring out who your resources are and who your team should be for the ERP project plan. It should not just be IT, and it should not just be finance or corporate management. You want to be working with the people that are going to be utilizing the solution on a day-to-day basis and are most impacted on by the functionality within their jobs. So what we're finding is that BestinClass are more likely to have line of business ultimately own the success of the implementation. Again, they're the ones getting the use out of the solution. They should be as involved as possible. And then just with any project plan, there should be a process for any changes in scope. There should be ongoing feedback from employees as you start to figure out exactly how this is all going to work in practice. I think this should extend far beyond your ERP implementation process to ensure that you're continuously improving the solution to get more value and to get better performance out of your employees that are utilizing that solution. And then, of course, you really want to improve the employees of your employees by training them effectively, tracking how effective they are at utilizing the solution, and then really understanding the quantifiable business benefits resulting from your implementation to make sure you're getting really the intended value out of that solution. So this is something to ensure that you can identify where the gaps are, identify what's working, what's not working, and then tailor more effectively to ensure that you're reaching ROI. So lastly, really it comes down to having a solution that's as adaptable as possible. So the ERP implementation process really should never end. It should come to a time where you are ensuring that your solution is quickly modified to react to business change and ensure that your ERP and business management solution provider is a business partner that can help you to continue to scale as your business continues to grow. And that's really why you're all here today. I'm sure you're all experiencing a lot of the challenges that come with growth. And I think the best way to fight those is to act now and to make sure that things don't continue to spiral out further and really get some structure within your business, provide greater visibility for your decision makers, and then go about and get this done as efficiently and quickly as possible. You're going to achieve a significant amount of ROI and really keep your business and put your business back on track. So with that said, just looking at the results of what BestinClass are getting out of their solutions, bigger improvements out of profitability, time to decision, cycle times of processes, and productivity, better performance in inventory accuracy, and complete and on-time delivery. Really, this is really kind of the so what, I guess, or the thing that you should point to when it comes to making a decision and seeing just the value that you're going to get out of looking to a business solution that's going to help you to support growth as an organization. That should really kind of make it a no-brainer. So before I pass it over to Matt from Sage, I just wanted to first go over the key findings from this entire series, really, and then go into a few recommendations for what you should be doing as an organization going forward. Throughout this entire series, we talked about the challenges that organizations face in growth, and these come with rising costs, disorganization. This is really all the types of things that are holding businesses back from achieving their full potential. Top performers have standardized their processes, provide more visibility, and improve their agility to directly combat these things. And they've done so through modernized business systems. So we talked a lot about what top performers look to when they're selecting their ERP solution. We talked about developing a project plan and sticking to it and working on training to get as much value out of the solution. And we talked about the benefits of being flexible on an ongoing basis to ensure that you're getting the ongoing scalability benefits that really you need as a growing business. So with that said, just a few final recommendations and what you should be doing as an organization to directly combat your growth challenges. You want to develop a clear plan prior to your ERP selection. Understand where your gaps are, what your challenges are, and really why you're doing this. What's going to add the most value to the business going forward and continue to support all the improvements that you're making to the business. Make sure you value functionality and use over cost when you're selecting a solution. Really, otherwise, what's the point of doing it? If you're just looking for the cheapest solution as a business, you're only going to hold your organization back. And I think the short-term cost benefits will probably, pale in comparison to the benefits you could have got by getting a properly fit business solution. To do so, you got to get input from all levels within the organization. What are their needs? How is this going to improve their day-to-day? And how is that going to allow them to make better decisions, service customers more effectively, et cetera? The line of business should really own the ERP implementation. Another thing to do is to align your ERP with your goals in your industry. So what are you trying to achieve as an organization? What are the unique things that make your organization tick, and what are absolute must-haves when it comes to whatever your business does or your industry does. So, if you're a food and beverage manufacturer, I think traceability and the ability to do things like recalls is kind of a have to have that may not as be essential in other types of organizations. And then within all of this, really the key things that you need to do to combat the hindrances that come with growth: focus on visibility, enhance collaboration, and embrace efficiency. These are the three main things that are most important that I think are really going to allow you to drive value within your organization. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed this series. I'll be back on in just a bit to answer some questions, but I'm going to pass it over to Matt from Sage to talk a little bit about how their solution can help to support everything I talked about today. So with that said, take it away, Matt.
Cool. Great. I appreciate that, Nick. So first, I want to thank you for your presentation. I think it really was a great perspective on the challenges that businesses are facing, and especially as they're growing, and some of those key decisions that they have to make. So all I really want to do at this time is provide everyone on the call just some information about Sage and how we really think we're well positioned to help you as your company builds and grows. So let's get to it. But I think before I get to what we do, I think it's really important to talk about why we do it. So the statement on the screen does bear repeating. See, we at Sage, we know that businesses are built by visionaries. So where some see obstacles, they see opportunity. And instead of cutting out early, they strive harder, they dig deeper, they reach higher. And really simply put, it's their enthusiasm, the focus, and determination. Those reasons are behind what we do, what we make, and really why we make it. Ultimately, what we believe is that we are here to serve business builders. So getting to what we do, that's pretty straightforward. At Sage, we help startup, scale-up, and enterprise organizations manage every aspect of their business. We do this by offering business owners solutions that work together to help them thrive in the areas that matter most to them. We partner with our customers so we can understand their business, what's important to them, how they define success. And what we do is we find out what keeps them up at night, where they can be more effective, more efficient. And then once we have all this knowledge, what we work to do is identify the solutions that can create greater freedom for them to succeed. So from managing accounting and finances to running entire business operations, Sage has a solution. When it comes to managing the employment lifecycle or payment processing, Sage provides the tools that businesses need the most. So let me talk for a moment now about our overview of our solutions. So there's a lot of things on this slide, and I think I can sum it up pretty easily. And this is really, I think, why Sage is uniquely positioned in the marketplace to partner with you and our customers as they grow. See, our strategy is simple, right? We provide the core capabilities for our customers to construct a financial accounting and business management platform that suits their unique business needs. So no matter if you're a startup or a scale-up or enterprise, with Sage you have the foundation you need to run a business, and our portfolio of solutions are really designed to coexist across vertical markets and scale as your business grows. In addition, we offer a wide range of complementary solutions for both on-premise and cloud customers. And what those do is they really provide additional capabilities as you move up or as your business needs change. So from CRM to business intelligence to inventory management or fixed asset management, and that's really just naming a few. We offer an extensive catalog of complementary solutions. In addition, let me just take a minute and talk a little bit about our cloud solutions. Those are the three in the middle of the screen: Sage 1, Sage Live, Sage X3, and Sage People. These are really designed to help you transform your business and stay ahead of the competition from a capabilities perspective and a budget perspective. So if you're looking for an industry-leading accounting solution, or a fully integrated business management solution, or even the next generation people management software, Sage has a cloud solution that's right for you. With cloud solutions from Sage, you can make a better decision, you can drive faster responses, and gain greater control over your businesses. And it's really all without the typical ERP requirements that you've probably grown accustomed to. Our goal really at Sage is to make it simple, seamless, and effortless. And this is clearly demonstrated, I think, with our cloud solutions. That's all I really wanted to talk about today. I wanted to give you just an understanding that Sage is an organization that supports you no matter if you're a startup, a scale-up, or an enterprise organization. So if you're interested in learning more about our company and our solutions, I just recommend that you visit us online at sage.com and really take some time to see how we deliver on our promise to support you, the business builders out there. And from there, that's all I really have today. I want to thank Nick again for his presentation. I think it was really quite insightful. And I'm going to turn it back over to our moderator because I think it's time for some Q&A.
Thank you very much, Matt, and thank you, Nick, both of you for presenting with us today, and thank you, Nick, for doing the other 2 installments in the series as well. As Matt just mentioned, we're going to dive into our Q&A now. So if you have any questions while we're going through this, we do have some time that we're about to spend doing this session. Feel free to use the Q&A widget on the left-hand side of your screen to submit questions. So to start us off, Nick, we talked a lot about some recommendations today. But how can mobile ERP be used to help grow my business?
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of lightly glossed over the mobile aspect because today I really focused a lot more on the implementation project, but I think it's something that's extremely important in today's environment. So as we know, the world works differently than it ever did in the past. You've got more remote employees. You've got a quicker demand for information, and mobile ERP really fits into that equation. We do find that best-in-class organizations are more likely to have ERP available and business management and data available on mobile devices. But what is actually most important is actually ensuring that those solutions are actually tailored to individual functions and processes within an organization. So it's not about just throwing the whole business management solution up on a mobile device, the whole suite. It's about having applications tailored to things like order management, service management, management reporting, the different types of things that inventory management, the different types of things that employees are likely to be doing out in the field that's going to make them more effective. So when you can manage customer orders face-to-face with a customer, you're going to have faster access to that customer's information. You're going to be able to ensure that the data you're collecting is accurate. You're really going to improve that customer satisfaction. When it comes to having the ability to take inventory when you're with a device right in your hand rather than having to walk back to a workstation, you're going to ensure that that information is much more accurate. So mobile is very essential to the ERP and business management equation in the modern environment, I would say for sure.
Yeah, and hey, if I could add one extra comment there as well, I think Nick alluded to it. It's as you're looking for a business management solution, I think it's really important to have a baseline as far as what's the technology, what is that solution support. So, I mean, he talked about not just being able to get the data on your mobile device, but actually be able to use it. So you got to start to ask questions like, okay, does it support HTML5? Is it responsive on Androids or iOS operating systems, things like that? And really, does it allow the users to personalize their experience, right? So they can get their role, their responsibilities on that device instead of preferences there, right, to make them more efficient. And that's to Nick's point. I mean, if you're going to go mobile, which is really critical these days, make sure it's not just a regurgitation of the ERP, but that it actually has that customization, that personalization, and user interface that makes you more efficient and more productive.
All right, a lot of times when we're talking about mobile, we're also talking about cloud, which makes sense that the next question I have is about some of the benefits of cloud ERP. So Nick, if you could start us off with some of the benefits, but then Matt, if you could expand on that with, are your customers looking for the cloud for business management solutions?
So do you want you kind of asked us?
Sorry about that. It wasn't totally clear about that. Let's start off, Nick. What are some of the benefits of cloud ERP? And then Matt, I have a follow-up for you.
Sure. So I have really kind of actually neglected talking about cloud throughout this entire series, but for growing organization, it's an integral part of the equation. There's a lot of research that I've done you can find on Aberdeen.com that also Sage has access to, that you can find at Sage's various product pages. But when it comes to cloud ERP, what we're finding is that this is something that's quickly catching up to on-premise over the past several years. In my year-over-year survey, every year we ask what deployment methods would you be willing to consider for your business management solution, and they're given a few different things to choose, and they can choose more than one. For the first, I've been at Aberdeen 7 years now. Over that time, I've consistently seen an increase in the amount of organizations willing to consider a cloud solution. At the same time, I've seen a decrease of the organizations willing to consider an on-premise solution. In fact, this last year was the first time that actually more were willing to consider a cloud solution than an on-premise solution. And really, there's a lot of reasons for that. We ask, why would you deploy ERP in the cloud? And of course, there are the cost reasons where you don't have to have that internal IT resources, the ability to pay on a subscription basis, and not have that large upfront capital expenditure. But a lot of the other reasons really line up well with the things that organizations need to do to handle their growth. Right at the top of the mind is the improved collaboration, being able to connect employees no matter where they are, since all they need is internet access to access the solution. Also improving real-time access to information really is going to keep your employees more active and more effective in making better decisions together. So there really are a lot of benefits when it comes to cloud solutions, and that's the reason why you're seeing a larger and larger amount of growing organizations go that way for ERP and business management.
Thank you, Nick. And the follow-up for you, Matt, was, are all of your customers looking for the cloud when it comes to their business management solutions?
That's a great question, and I really appreciate Nick's answer, because I've been with Sage for 7 years, and I would say that's my same experience. So to answer your question quickly, yes, they are all looking for cloud, but sometimes, and in many cases, it's just kicking the tires. I'd love to say that, oh yeah, we're 100% cloud, but that's not always the case, right? So what we try to do when we talk to our prospects is fit them with the right solution, and then talk to them about the different options from either cloud or on-premise, or even a third-party hosted solution. But regardless, is what we're looking at is, okay, what works best for their organization? From a cloud perspective, we've also seen that growing need. So Sage has had a variety of cloud offerings. I talked about them briefly, or just reviewed them briefly a couple slides ago. And I'd say the nice thing is, right, our cloud solutions have been in the marketplace for a couple of years, so we have been able to continue to strengthen them and improve them as far as capabilities and offerings. And so now when our customers are looking for it, as Nick's saying, right, as there's the appetite for cloud is growing, we're really able to say, yep, regardless of if you're on-premise, if you're in the cloud, you're getting the same. So now it's just a question of deployment, dependency or lack of dependency on IT resources. How do you want to, from a budget perspective, those types of things. Flexibility as far as when you get updates, how you get updates, things like that. So at Sage, we're definitely seeing a growing appetite, but we have a variety of prospects and customers that still like the on-premise solutions. Are saying, yeah, let me think about that. And as they go through the process, they ultimately choose one or the other, obviously.
All right, and sticking with the topic of cloud for just one more question, and we usually get this question at least once or twice whenever we start talking about cloud. Are there any, should security be a concern for a cloud ERP? Nick, if you'd like to weigh in, but Matt, feel free to give us the sage angle after Nick finishes up.
Yeah, I'll go first. I mean, I'm just going to say no, to be honest. That was a kind of an outdated concern. I think as people have become more and more comfortable putting their own personal information online, I think that has also extended to business data itself. But really what it comes down to is the whole means of doing business for a software vendor that provides a cloud solution relies on them providing that security. So they're specifically dedicated to ensuring that you're not going to experience downtime, you're not going to experience security breaches. Otherwise, frankly, they wouldn't be in business. So oftentimes, or all times, these solutions are more secure than your own internal firewalls. And we've actually studied at Aberdeen. We have a research practice dedicated specifically to security, and we ask people how many instances of downtime or security incidences happened over the past 12 months, and we compare those with cloud solutions to those on-premise, and every time we've ever done it, cloud has had half as many. So I don't think it's something that's really as much of a concern anymore.
No, and I would echo that with Nick. I think that I'll give you an example with Sage X3. We were partnered with Amazon Web Services, or AWS. So I think some of their statistics are they have over 1 million active customers, over 190 countries running AWS. That includes 900 or more government agencies and I think 3,500 educational institutions. And that's just some of the statistics, but needless to say that everybody recognizes Amazon, and their security and their protocols are quite robust and industry leading. So there may have been a concern at some point, but if you find a provider that has partnered with somebody like Amazon, that neutralizes the security question, I think, significantly.
All right, thank you. So moving on, I actually do have a question that came from part one. And Nick, Matt, I'll actually pose this to you first. In Sage's experience with your customers, what do you think the biggest challenge is for growing companies? And Nick, feel free to weigh in with some research.
The biggest challenge, I would say it's admitting that you're growing, or it's not just things are busier, right, or you're more disorganized, right? I think it's really being able to identify that, okay, our operations or our internal processes are being stressed, right? So I think as you grow, those things stress, and you start to put Band-Aids on them, and you start to say, well, we have a system that runs, but these few individuals in this department, they do it their way. Or we have a lot of intellectual property with these two people, and that one's starting to retire. So as you're growing, you start to put more pressure on those individuals, and I think it makes it tough to figure out what your next steps are, right? And as Nick said in his presentation earlier, that at some point you really have to have that clear discussion, or that acknowledgement of, okay, we're going to have to make an investment. It's going to be a disruption of some sort because you're going to be changing systems, but in the long term, that is quite helpful. And maybe the answer is we're not done growing, but we better get this implemented now, so that when we are really growing significantly, or when we really hit our stride, we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I think it's lack of resources. So I think you're trying to do more as a business, but you don't quite have the resources to manage the costs that you need to be able to continue to grow, and you're trying to do too much with too few people. So you need to find ways in which to get as much value as possible out of what you've got, both from a capital perspective as well as a people perspective.
All right, we've got a couple minutes left, so I do have a few more questions that we're going to try to sneak in. So this one came from part 2, and we were talking about some strategies. So Nick, what are some emerging technologies that I should be on the lookout for in the future in regards to company growth?
Yeah, and I guess that was a question from part 2, but we did have a slide on that within this presentation today. And I'm not going to name specific software vendors, but I think the things to stay on top of include social business capabilities, so improve really kind of the LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter-like functionality within solutions that support improved collaboration, business analytics, of course, cloud, and mobile. Those are kind of the key things that I think are top of mind. Also, depending on your industry, the Internet of Things and connected devices can help to improve decision-making related to your assets, your products, and all of that. So your machinery. So I'd say those 4 things and IoT are kind of the top of mind right now.
All right, thank you, Nick. Now to wrap us up, seems like a logical way to end this series, which is really the crux of what this series is about. So Nick, you can start us off, but Matt, feel free to weigh in as well. To sort of sum up, what should I be looking for, or what should I look for when selecting an ERP?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, it was on the slide. It's really making sure that you have the right functionality to solve the business problems that exist within your business today. So you're not implementing technology just to implement technology, but really ensuring that you have the right fit that's going to add real improvements to the business.
No, I would agree with Nick. Obviously, functionality capabilities are critical. I think from a Sage perspective, I'd recommend, regardless if you ever talk to us or some other products in the marketplace or companies in the marketplace, you really get a feel for some of those intangibles, right? What's it like working with that organization? What kind of support do they have in place? What type of curriculum do they have for training or implementation to get your team up to speed, right? So if I'm going to come in and sell you on efficiency and productivity, what can I do to back that up to ensure that your team members and your colleagues have what they need, right, to roll out this new system and to feel really empowered to succeed as they're running on it. I think that's important too, right? That just to consider those things. And another thing I would probably ask about is roadmap. I mean, that comes back to the feature functionality side of things too. Is what does it look like? What does 12, 18, 24 months or farther down the road look like? What's the vision that your R&D teams have? Because I think that's really important as far as, okay, what are you planning and how do you deliver it, or how quickly am I going to get it as if I select your solution?
Thank you, Matt. That about wraps up the time we have for today, everyone. I want to take a moment to thank Nick and Matt for sharing your research, insights, and recommendations with us all today. And thank you to our sponsor, Sage, for making this entire webinar series possible. We hope you found today's broadcast to be beneficial, and if you have any final questions, you can submit them to our speakers. We have contact information up on the screen right now. At the conclusion of the webinar, we have a short survey about today's event. We'd love to hear any feedback you have on our webinars, and we appreciate your time. If you'd like to check out the earlier installments in this series, you can once again check out the P1 and P2 thumbnails at the bottom side of the screen, and those will bring you to the on-demand versions of those webinars. You can check out future Aberdeen webinars by visiting our webinar channel page. We regularly update it with upcoming events, so be sure to bookmark the link, check back often. You can click the teal AG logo at the bottom right-hand corner to access that channel page. Thank you very much for your participation, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.